Done.
Speaking about cleaning, let us begin Parshat Tzav.
And I also heard that even chametz, it's not that it should not be in the house. You shouldn't see. You should hide it somewhere so that you don't see.
Okay, so the chametz needs to be either gotten rid of or put away into an area and sold. Right? Because we have the documents out in front of the shul now to sell the chametz. Okay? Yeah, so you want to make sure that it's not lying around.
If you put it in the garage, it's not considered to be...
Well, if it's still yours, it's a problem. That's why you want to sell it. Okay? But there's a very... you basically authorize me as an agent. I don't buy your chametz. I don't want your chametz. I don't want my chametz. I don't want your chametz. I don't want anyone's chametz. Right? But what we do... But I am an agent, and I will sell my chametz and the shul's chametz and all who have authorized me as their agent sell their chametz to our good friend Jose over here, right? Right? And then after Pesach, assuming he agrees to sell it back to me, then we're back in business. If he decides to keep it, then we have to work out a reasonable price, and we'll settle. But in the past, he's agreed to sell it back, and my working assumption is he probably will again this year. But it really is up to him.
What about if you have a business like Kosher, where you have chametz? You have to sell it to the whole business. You have to sell to someone.
Well, you don't need to sell the business. You need to sell the chametz, right? Now, Kosher is a bit easier because he's got his chametz and he puts it away, and he sells it, and then he'll, assuming he buys it back after Pesach, then he can go ahead and continue selling it. The issue that we have now, if let's say Wholesome Choice or Target or Ralph's or Albertsons, all of the main stores around here, for a while it was a question about Smart and Final. So that you need to find out each year. But all of those which are non-Jewish owned, then it's not an issue at all. Right? There's no reason, right? They're allowed to own their chametz. They're allowed to do what they want with their chametz over Pesach, and they can go ahead and do that. And right after Pesach, they usually wait till, I know in my house we have to wait till we switch things back over. But at that point, one can go out and get themselves a bagel, right? Some Entenmann's donuts, you can buy any chametz you want over there, right? The issue that comes up is when it is a Jewish-owned enterprise that has not sold its chametz. So there you've got a problem that for the next few weeks you don't really want to buy real chametz from that store because chances are that those items were owned by the Jew on Pesach. And nowadays actually it gets even a little bit more. Nowadays it gets even a little bit more complicated because you have so many different middlemen along the way until it actually hits the shelves, right? So therefore, was it owned by a Jew? Right? Were one of those intermediaries a Jewish-owned business until over Pesach until it made its way onto the shelves? But again, around here we don't have much of an issue. Almost all the stores are non-Jewish, and right after Pesach, one can partake. It gets interesting when you have a Jewish store that has not sold their chametz, or a Jewish store, a large store that has sold their chametz, but they continue to sell chametz during Pesach. Not an Kosher, but let's say a Pathmark or a Waldbaum's. I'm talking about these are East Coast chain stores, right? So nevertheless, there we'll say, okay, they shouldn't have sold it over Pesach because it wasn't really theirs to sell, but that's their cheshbon, that's their calculation, and that's not going to affect whatever wasn't sold, whatever's still on the shelves after Pesach, right, was sold, and therefore then it was bought back. It was not what's called chametz she'avar alav Pesach. It was not chametz that Pesach has passed by over it, right? And therefore, while it's Jewish owned, and therefore it's okay. But that's why it's important for us to sell our own chametz.
What's the last day that we could sell it? The last.
Well, I I do the, okay, it needs to be sold. I need to do the sale while it's still ours and we're able to derive benefit from it.
Thursday.
No, so until Friday morning, we're allowed to derive benefit from it. So I schedule my meeting with Jose for Friday morning. Okay? But I urge and recommend that everyone fill out the form well before then. You can fill out the form this morning. And what you're doing by that is you're authorizing me to sell your chametz, which I will do on Friday morning. Okay? So Amy, when you fill out the form, it's not going to affect anything. Fill out the form is duly authorizing me that comes that a week from this Friday morning, I will sell the chametz to Jose.
So, like you are the agent, you sell it to Jose in this case.
Yes.
Typically, you sell it to a non-Jew.
Yes, it's got to be sold to a non-Jew. Selling it to a Jew, we haven't accomplished anything.
And it can be anybody, right?
I'm sorry?
It can be anybody.
It could be any non-Jew.
Okay.
Right, it can be any non-Jew. Actually, there have been cases where there's been a set, a person that a community has sold it to, and then later on they find out that actually his grandmother, his mother's mother was Jewish, right? Which then
well, they didn't know it at that moment, so
they didn't know.
To be
They didn't know, so
they
it was.
Intentionally break
they
the
certainly did not intentionally do anything wrong, but I've ascertained with Jose, to the best of his knowledge, neither his mother and grandmother, great grandmother, were Jewish, so therefore,
pay our dues and keep it in the garage.
I'm sorry?
We can fill the form, pay whatever we have to pay, or and keep it in the garage, and put it in the garage.
And put it, and on the form you'll say, where it is, where the chametz can be found. Okay? Something that, something that I've started doing without little kids around, which has made life a lot easier, is instead of cleaning out cabinets and putting things in, and then after Pesach it takes months until you find everything. Like it seemed, it made so much sense to stick that in the laundry room at the time, but then afterwards, like, where in the world did I put that? We've gotten these inexpensive plastic shelving units, and we bring them, we set them up in the kitchen, and we just close all our cabinets, and all the Pesach stuff goes on those cabinets. After Pesach, right, we fold them back up, put them away, and now we reopen our kitchen. It's a lot easier than emptying out these cabinets, cleaning the cabinets, emptying them out, papering them. It's a lot easier. You want to try to minimize to really enjoy and celebrate the holiday. Now, there certainly is this idea of doing a serious cleaning, which is meant to spur us not just to clean the house, but also to cleanse ourselves. So I don't want to negate that, but at the same time, we don't want to be you don't want to be on the verge of a nervous breakdown. There's a video going around, this is for a couple of years now, of a girl talking through a glass to her mother, and the mother seems to be wearing like this, prison shirt. She's talking to the glass. Mama, when will I see you again? Mama, I love you. And then it pans out, and actually it's the mother behind a glass in the bathroom cleaning for Pesach. Right? Right? And the caption is, "It doesn't have to be this way." Okay, so we want to try to keep it healthy. We want to keep it healthy. Okay, once again, on the topic of cleaning, there was some cleaning that was done in our Parsha. So let us begin Parsha Tzav. Dov, thank you for arranging the pages for us. Page 568. Oh, Elizabeth, thank you for arranging the pages for us. Page 568. Let's lead off in Hebrew and go through the first three. Let's go through the first 4 verses. Okay? Do we have a... Why don't you lead off for us in Hebrew? Yes. Yafi, b'shutech?
No problem. וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, צו את אהרון ואת בניו לאמור, זאת תורת העולה היא, נכון?
נכון.
העולה על
מוקדה.
אל המזבח כל הלילה עד הבוקר, ואש המזבח תוקד בו, ולבש הכהן מידו בר ומכנסי בד, ילבש על בשרו והרים את הדשן אשר תאכל האש את העולה על המזבח ושמו אצל המזבח.
Is she Israeli?
She's good. Let's take one more.
I went to yeshiva from first grade. הוא פשט את בגדיו ולבש בגדים אחרים והוציא את הדשן אל מחוץ למחנה אל מקום טהור.
Beautiful. Now that you have everyone's attention, why don't you introduce yourself, because not everyone knows you.
Hi, my name is Adrian. My Hebrew name is Yocheved. I was originally born in the Bronx, in New York. I did Aliyah to Israel in 1979, and now I'm back.
Very nice.
With my
Adrian?
husband. My husband's Israeli.
Adrian.
Adrian.
Nice.
But the Hebrew one's Yocheved.
Yocheved. Even better. Nice. Pelham Parkway?
Yes. How did you know?
Wow.
My grandparents lived in Pelham
I
Parkway.
used to go to Young Israel.
Pelham Parkway.
Yes.
So they were Young Usual of Astor Gardens.
No,
My
I
grandfather
was
helped
Pelham
found
Parkway.
that. Okay, nice. Okay, in English now. Who's going to take it first in English?
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Command Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the law of the elevation offering. It is the elevation offering on the flame on the altar all night until the morning, and the fire of the altar should remain a flame on it. The Kohen shall don his fitted linen tunic, and he shall don linen breeches on his flesh. He shall separate the ash of what the fire consumed of the elevation offering on the altar, and place it next to the altar.
One more.
He shall remove his garments and don other garments, and he shall remove the ash to the outside of the camp to a pure place.
Beautiful. So the first avoda, there is a Masechet, a tractate of the Talmud called Masechet Tamid. Tamid is constant. And it goes through the constant daily service that took place in the temple. The very first action, the first avoda, the first service that was done in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Mishkan here, the sanctuary, right, in the tabernacle, the very first avoda was the Trumat Hadeshen, which is the removal, separating the ashes that was on the fire, that is on the altar, and placing it next to the altar. The very first thing that was done was to take the ashes from that which had been burning the day before and overnight and place it on the side of the altar. Why? Why would that be?
You make a barbecue, you clean your barbecue.
Okay. So it could be, right, with Pesach in mind, that, well, before you start the next day's service, what do you got to do? You've got to clean up the old. That is true. However, if that were the case, I'd say, hey, get it done the night before, right before sunrise, right before the new day. Get rid of all the old and get started on the new, right? So why is it that the day begins and the Torah emphasizes that the day begins with the removal of the ashes from the day before? This is not simple housekeeping. This is avoda. This is service. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes?
It also says put it next to the altar, so you still have it in...
Okay, that's an excellent point, right? If it was just housekeeping, so then, send it down the chute, send it out to waste management, right? Placing it next to the altar indicates that this is part and parcel of the avoda. Good. So again, the question that we posed, Leah, good morning. The question that we posed is, why are we starting with the ash removal? Right? Rachel wanted to say, well, you've got to clean up before you get started. But we pointed out two indications that it's not simply cleaning the old before you get started on the new, but this is actually part of the avoda. I mentioned that we wait till the morning and we're specifying how it be done. And Linda added that it's placed next to the altar as opposed to going out in the trash. So this is avoda. So why is this? Or what can we glean? What can we learn from that we're starting the avoda, the service of that day, is being started with the removal of the ashes from the previous day's avoda. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah bidvaro.
Amen.
Some thoughts. Why is this so important?
And the previous day also was elevation offering.
Yep.
So it's kind of holy, so in a way.
I'm sorry?
It's kind of holy in a way.
Okay, but it's sort of used up already, right? It's ashes at this point.
It represents maybe a continuation that
Okay.
never stop serving.
Okay, so there are a number of approaches, right? It's a continuation. You know, we've discussed this in many different angles. Sometimes it's presented when it comes to kashrut, right? The signs for a kosher animal are that it has split hooves and that it chews its cud. So a thought, an explanation is given, or an idea is expressed that the hooves represent motion going forward. Chewing its cud represents the past, right? It's a regurgitation of that which had already been ingested. And it's interesting to note that the animals that we mention in the Torah, the one animal the Torah mentioned as having split hooves but not chewing its cud is the pig. Okay? Now, the pig is eaten by the Western world. And the Western world actually is all about progress, all about, the iPhone, what are we up to now? We're up to the 6, right?
Material and physical.
Right? Yeah, that it's constantly developing, moving forward, and whatever is, from a little while ago is just so outdated. When Alan and I moved here, so we wanted to get a dining room set. So we went on to Craigslist, right? And we found on Craigslist about 1/10 of the things that are there when it comes to like dining room sets, right, are amazing finds. That's what we found. 90%. We went to this house. It was a beautiful, beautiful dining room table. Right? It was amazing, beautiful, right? And we were wondering, like, why is she getting rid of this, right? And she said to us, she said, she said it very offhand. Well, this table is so like 2000. Is so like 2004 or something like that. Yeah. That's a certain mindset. You got to move forward. We list 3 animals that chew its cud but don't have split hooves, and 2 of them we're not sure exactly what animals they are today. But one of them we do know. That's the gamal. That's the camel. And the camel is best represented by the Middle Eastern world, right? The Western world is basically Esav, the descendants of Esav. The Middle Eastern world is basically the descendants of Ishmael, right? They're associated with the camel. And it's interesting that they had a very, very glorious past. A very, very glorious past, right? The Muslim Middle Eastern world. Very glorious
Before
past.
they become
Well,
Islam.
algebra, right, is from El Jabbar, right? And I was just studying with Devora for her Jewish history test that she had coming up. And it was such an interesting paragraph there that the Anshe Chen, or the people who got very heavily involved in the Chachmat HaNistar, in the learning of Kabbalah, that was almost a reaction to the studies that were going on in the Muslim universities there of philosophy that was really intriguing many of the Jews and pulling them away from Judaism without their realizing what we had within Judaism, and that led to this flowering of the teaching of Kabbalah that we should see. But that's in the past. Tragically, you look at most of the Middle Eastern countries today, and they are mired in the past. Even their wealth predominantly comes from fossil fuel, right? From the past. This morning I read that in Israel, the amount of investment from R&D companies in Israel in 2014 surpassed anything that Israel has ever had. Right? And the article was speaking about the renewable resources of Israel, which is ingenuity. But tragically, you look at most of the Middle Eastern world, and it is mired in the past. That's the pig. That's the camel. Judaism, we're told to eat those which have split hooves and chew its cud, meaning we are built on an appreciation and a reverence of the past, and with that we resolutely move forward into the future. So that's a concept that we have that expresses itself in many places, and as Linda suggested, this is also an expression of that same idea. We're starting a new day of avoda, a new day of service. But we start with the ashes of the previous day. We're not starting fresh. We're not starting anew. We have our teachings. We have our precedent. We have our foundation. And it's foolhardy to sever oneself from that foundation. And this actually is an idea, the English brings it here, from Rabbi Hirsch. You have it on page 569. Right? On the second column there, about midway down. Rav Hirsch comments that by taking a portion from yesterday's service and placing it at the side of the altar before beginning today's service, the Kohen symbolizes a national declaration that today we will continue to serve God as we did yesterday, according to the dictates of His will. Now, in historical context, Rav Hirsch was fighting, standing alone almost, fighting against the waves of assimilation, the waves of reform that were sweeping in Germany. Right? So this is very much Rav Hirsch speaking to his times, speaking the truth to his times, that we take the past and we have the utmost reverence for the past, and with that then we go forward. The joke is told that a kid says to his mother, Mommy, Daddy said that we came from apes. Did we just hear this? Daddy said that we came from apes, but my Rebbe in school said that we came from Adam Arishon, we came from Adam, we don't come from apes. So the mother said, your father said we come from apes? She said, yeah, that's his side of the family. Right? But, or famous, I think, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky was Zatzal, who was one of the great leaders of Israel, the previous generation, was flying from Israel, and he's sitting next to a very distinguished person in Israel, whether it was a writer or a Knesset member, whoever it was. And this Israeli was amazed that Rav Yaakov's grandson, who was flying on the same plane, was just overflowing with respect for his grandfather, and just catering to anything he could do to help his world-renowned, revered grandfather. And this person commented to Rav Yaakov that he was also a person of renown. He said, but his children and grandchildren, sort of dismiss him as the old man. So Rav Yaakov, who was a very, very warm, loving, gracious person, I'm sure said with a very warm smile, he said, it all depends what we teach, right? If a person is educated that we stood on Mount Sinai, we were created by God and placed into the Garden of Eden, and we stood on Mount Sinai, so every earlier generation is that much closer to Mount Sinai, that much closer to that holiness. If one doesn't teach that, then each generation is one generation closer to an ape. So why should there be this reverence? But the ashes on one level is clearly showing us that we recognize where we're coming from, and the teachings that we're coming from, and the foundation that we're coming from. And we have the utmost respect, and we build on that. And then, of course, as we said by the Kashrut, then, of course, we move forward. Good. So one idea that the ashes could represent and do represent is this appreciation and reverence for the past as we move forward. Any other ideas?
Well, it's an ola, means it's an oblatation offering, so that was to Hashem burned up in its entirety, and what's remaining, the residue, is in the physical world still. We have to handle even that with a certain
Oh, that's a nice idea, Dov.
respect and care.
Right? Dov said that even the residue, the remains of holiness, right, is also holy, right? That's interesting. You know, we have a concept that the luchot, that in the ark that was in the tabernacle, we had the luchot, the tablets of the Ten Commandments, and we also had the shivrei luchot. We also had the broken tablets. And when you have an older person, certainly an older Torah scholar, who sometimes a person gets older, they start to lose their faculties. So that will sometimes be referred to as shivrei luchot, right? And not in any way to diminish that person, but to recognize the holiness. Even the shivrei luchot were placed into the aron, and that's a very powerful lesson. You know, the shivrei luchot. Why were the tablets broken? We learned a few weeks ago. Why were the tablets? At what point were the tablets broken?
They're worshiping golden calf.
Yeah, they're worshiping a golden calf, right? So you would think that this evidence or this result of that horrific deviation from who we're supposed to be, you think you want to bury that away. You want to put that as far away, from Hashem as possible. And in fact, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, who wears a regular Kohen wears 4 garments, all made from thread, no gold. The Kohen Gadol, the high priest, had 8 garments, 4 additional garments, many of which were gold. But on Yom Kippur, when he would enter the Holy of Holies, he would not wear the golden garments. He would not wear the Kohen Gadol, the high priest garments. He would wear the regular Kohen garments, because you don't want to bring gold into the Holy of Holies, because ein kategor nasa sanegor. You don't want the accuser to become the defendant. You don't want to bring gold, which led to that terrible sin. Yet the shivrei luchot are placed in there. The broken tablets are there in the ark, in the Holy of Holies. But I think an understanding certainly could be that for the Kohen to walk in there as he is trying to effect forgiveness, for him to walk in there wearing gold, that would be a show of disrespect on our part to Hashem, to bring up that sin. But Hashem is telling us that the luchot should be in there because that is the human condition. And we need to recognize that even we, with all of our good and not so good, with all the mistakes that we make, that is the human condition. That is how Hashem created us. That is what He wants from us. That is how we are greater than the angels in the potential that we have to grow, and which is only through making mistakes. And that is in that is in the Holy of Holies. So Dov wants to make a parallel over here that even the residue, that which remains from the Karbanot, are also holy. Very nice idea, Dov.
Okay, so where were the broken tablets placed?
In the ark in the Holy of Holies. Along with the second tablets that were intact, the broken tablets were also in there.
From the quick look at the comments, how many days the offerings were offered? 8
Daily.
Daily, for 8
Well,
days, 7
wait.
days, whatever.
There was the inauguration of the Mishkan, which was 7 days done prior that Moshe did, and then Aaron and his son, and then Aaron and his sons started to bring. But this is talking about the daily offerings.
So, not to change clothes all the time, maybe they've been collecting ashes and to throw them away once. I mean, they have.
But it was daily that they did this. We'll come to the clothes soon. Any other ideas about starting the day with the ashes?
Why they clean the ashes in the morning? That's
Yeah,
the
why was
question.
that the start of the avoda? What lesson could be gleaned from the service beginning
you
with?
have to break with the past, whatever, clean from the past.
Well, so we discussed that. We discussed that you have to build on the past, right? Right? Okay, but you actually, Rachel, you're making a very interesting point, right? Linda, you spoke about, Hirsch spoke about the continuity from the past, right? But there also is an idea of we start again, right? We build on the past, but we're not enslaved, right, to the past, right? What I was yesterday does not force me into what I am today, right? Oh, that's really very nice. That's really the other side of the coin, right? We respect the past, we build on the past, but we are not held captive. We are not locked in, right, by the past. And therefore we start by removing and then starting the new day. Yes, Sunny and then Leah.
It's also not what you do, but it's more important a matter of how you do it.
Okay, that's a nice idea. Because we're going to, the next part which we didn't go into yet, which we did read, was that he will remove his garments, right? The garments that he used for the removal of ash, which is going to get a little bit a bit soiled. He will remove that, and then he will put on fresh garments. So again, what did you say, Sonny? Say what you said again.
Not what you do, but how you do it.
Okay. So
I think it's more like like the Seder, there are certain orders. It's very important, like you do it in a certain way, but not just, okay, we're doing it, but more important, we do it step by step that has a meaning into it.
But how is it
Okay.
connected to the removal of the ashes?
well, if I could add a little bit to what what Sonny's saying, the idea is also expressed over here. Sometimes a person has a sense that I'm an important person, right? And there's certain things.
I'm not doing it. The cleaning lady will clean.
Yeah, certain things that are beneath me, right? That's not for me to do. There's many stories along this line. There's the person who came to Bnei Brak, to a Rav who was there known as the Steipler Rav. Right? And the Steipler Rav was all about learning. He was always immersed in learning. And a person, a young man came to him to say, he's got a problem. It's every Friday, right, when it's almost time for Shabbos, and the house isn't properly cleaned, and things aren't ready for Shabbos. What should he do? So he suggests that he pick up a broom and help his wife. That was the suggestion that he made, right? It's not beneath you, right? And someone came. This is here in the States. Someone came to Rav Gifter, who Zatzal, blessed memory, who was the Rosh Yeshiva, one of the Rosh Yeshivas of the Telz Yeshiva in Cleveland. And he felt that, he as a Torah scholar, should not be taking out the garbage. That shouldn't be a job for him to do. Not his own honor, but as a Torah scholar, he shouldn't be doing that.
Who is going to be doing it for him? His wife?
Mm-hmm.
So, Rav Gifter heard him out. I'm not sure exactly what he said to him, but the next morning, early in the morning, there was a knock on this person's door. He goes to the door, opens it up, and who's there?
His wife?
Rav Gifter
Oh.
is at his house.
Oh.
So you're like, please, Rebbe, come inside. He said, no, I'm not here for a visit. I'm here to take out the garbage. And the lesson was learned. I don't think he allowed Rav Gifter to take out the garbage, and I think he at that point decided that it was okay for him to take out the garbage. So there are times that we become a little bit arrogant, right? The matzah is all about, the leavened bread is all about that arrogance, right? Being full of hot air, right? Which is essentially what the matzah is, what the chametz is, as opposed to the matzah, right? So we have to realize, that we roll up our sleeves and we get the job done. Whatever needs to be done, that's what we do. And when it comes to avodat Hashem, when it comes to serving Hashem, right? Every aspect of it is considered honored, is distinguished.
I really
Yafi.
like
So I have an idea of compare it to a man, sleeping through the night, and we said once that sleeping at night it's the most closely to death, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And when we wake up in the morning, we do the netilah in Moderni, and it's like
A birth.
a birth, and
Right.
leaving death and start fresh. So kind of the ashes is like resembled to death of the sacrifice of an animal, and so the morning, getting rid of it is getting into a fresh start into life.
Chadashim lebikarim rabba emunatecha. Yeah, very nice.
So it's like it's continuing, but still it's a new start. And
Yeah.
it's fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry?
I said that.
Yeah. No, that's along the lines of what Rachel said. Yeah. But that's a beautiful parallel that you're bringing. That every day, right? Sleep. The Gemara says is 1/60th of death, and when we wake up in the morning, right? We wash our hands. The tilat yadayim. It is a new life, that we're given. The story is told. The parable is given of a person, right, who comes before the heavenly tribunal. And they say to him, it's time. And he said, no, I have so much more I need to accomplish. Please, my family needs me. Please, give me more time. He said, no, it's time. And he begs, please, give me some more time. Give me some more time with my family. Give me more time to accomplish. And the heavenly tribunal grants his wish. Right? A moment later, his alarm goes off. Right? Time to wake up in the morning. He goes, oh no, I'm so tired. And he hits the snooze button. Right? Unaware of all that just went by. That's every day. Right? So it's from the ashes, right? From the ashes that the new day is built. Very nice. But coming back to what we were saying before with Sunny, so we start with cleaning the ashes, right? We shouldn't have this sense of arrogance that that's beneath me. That I won't do. Right? There's a wrapper on the floor of the shul. We make sure to pick it up. It's a makom kadosh. It's not for anyone else. It's not to leave for anyone else. Especially me. I'm the one who gave out the lollipops. So I have a special responsibility to pick up all those wrappers, right? But not. Things are not beneath us. Things are not beneath us. Certainly when it comes to avodat Hashem. So actually, I mentioned this is the first thing. They would actually draw lots to see who would have the honor. Who would have the honor of the Trumat Hadeshen? Who would have the honor of cleaning up the ashes? The Medrash, I believe, says about Yehoshua. How did Joshua, the Moshe's disciple, how did he become the great Yehoshua? How was he chosen that he would be the one to be the leader after Moshe? He used to clean the study hall where Moshe was. Right? It's not beneath us, and therefore we give importance to this, and I think this also leads into what Sonny was saying. Before we can start the new, right? We've got to remove the ashes from the old in order to start the new. But that has importance. That has kedusha. That has holiness. And right, as she mentioned, it's interesting. The Seder, we call it the Seder, right? You would think we call it the Haggadah, right? Because the mitzvah that we're doing is Haggadah, is telling the story, right? But we call it the Seder, and the Seder means the order. So why? And as Sonny said, the importance is that we do it in this very, very regimented order. Why? Why the emphasis on the order? Why is it called the Seder? What is this value, this importance that's being emphasized here of the order, of the Seder? Why is it called the Seder? Why do we make such a big deal about it? I put that out to you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes.
If you read the Magilla Esther, if you read it backwards, then you haven't done the mitzvah. Or if you start reading it in the middle, so
right,
then you haven't counted as a mitzvah. So it extends to Purim too. And Purim and Pesach are very...
Okay, well, good. Why? Good. Excellent point. Right? One word out of order, you have not fulfilled your mitzvah of the Megillah. Why? But great. Megillah.
Oh, Magilla.
One word out of order of the Megillah, you have not fulfilled your mitzvah. One word out of order in the Haggadah, you have fulfilled your mitzvah. Right? Right? I mean, important to know, women are fully obligated in all the mitzvot of the Seder, right? Of the matzah and the maror and the wine and all, right? And the Haggadah. But if a person is taking care of children, right? And right, so there are certain parts which you need to be saying, the Avadim Hayinu, the Manishtana, Avadim Hayinu, Parasrayim, and we at a later point we say whoever has not said these three things have not fulfilled their obligation, the Matzah Maror, right, and Pesach Matzah Maror, and then we explain why that is. So those are the part that needs to be said. But you leave out a word by the Haggadah, right, you still can fulfill your mitzvah. But why is the order so important? So you have a beautiful point, Leah. By Megillat Esther also, by Purim also, the order is so important. And by Seder, it is the Seder. But why?
Is it because there is cause and consequence? I mean, there is
meaning
action
what?
and reaction. You, one thing leads to another. You choose this way. There will be. How can I say? There is an expression which I don't remember. There is an action and there is a.
For reaction, there is a reaction.
Or there is a action. And there is a consequence.
Right. Okay, I want to take that a step further. Any other ideas on this? Why the Seder? Linda?
One thing leads to another.
The Haggadah sets things up historically, so we understand as a nation that we came out of Israel, etc., 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 and now we're going to have these things because of it.
Okay. To me, it's a step further, right? And I think the Megillah is a wonderful example. The reason why Megillat Esther needs to be read in order is to recognize that every step of the way was orchestrated by God. And that which seemed to be not so consequential actually was a necessary part of the order. And if you're going to read it out of order, you're going to miss out on that appreciation that there is order in the world. Even though, to our human eyes, there seems to be quite often much and great chaos and haphazardness and craziness. But to understand that everything has its Seder. Everything has its order. And on the night of the Seder, when we are re-experiencing the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt, we need to know that everything is part of God's order. Everything is arranged by God. Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. Everything is in God's hands besides your fear of heaven, besides the decisions that you make and the person that you make yourselves and those around you into. That is your control. That is in your domain.
Fear of heaven.
Fear of heaven.
You're supposed to be enjoying, looking forward.
Well, let's call it awe of heaven. Let's call it awe of heaven. Yes.
Isn't it true that God's name isn't even mentioned in the Megillat Esther?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe that would make it even more important?
Yes. Yes. Right. God's name is not mentioned in Megillat Esther to show that behind the scenes there's this full orchestration. And Moshe's name is not mentioned in the Haggadah. Right? Right? To emphasize that it's not Moshe's wizardry and Moshe, we had that great tzaddik Moshe, the great righteous person Moshe, right? But b'chol dor vador, right? Hashem hasn't changed. And it's the same Hashem that took us out of Mitzrayim who could take us out of Irvine and bring us to Yerushalayim. Yes?
I have a question.
Sure.
How could the Seder be almost less important as you're describing than the Magilla? Because that was really the birth of the Jewish people and our history and our beginnings. So I would think that everything in that would be just, if not more important.
Okay. It's no less important. We certainly have more mitzvot involved and more, and the seriousness, the severity of those mitzvot are far greater by Pesach than they are by Purim, right? By Purim, I think it's more of a technical thing. Purim, we read Megillat Esther. Megillat Esther is has been canonized. It's part of our scripture, right? And the mitzvah, one of the mitzvot of Purim is the reading of the Megillah. To properly read a Megillah means it's read in the proper order. We have no mitzvah of reading the Haggadah on Pesach. We have a mitzvah of Magid, of telling the story. The Haggadah was written, right, by sages at a much later point. It's not considered, part of Scripture. It was written as a vehicle through which we fulfill that mitzvah of telling the story. But it was never, the Megillat Esther was written with Ruach HaKodesh, with the divine spirit, right, with divine influence. No one says the Haggadah was written with Ruach HaKodesh. The Haggadah is the means through which we fulfill our mitzvah of Magid. But you're right, Purim is certainly more fundamental, Pesach, is more foundational, more fundamental. Absolutely.
So are some
right?
Haggadahs different?
I'm sorry?
Are there words that are different in the Haggadah? Every Megillah Esther is the same, but
Well, if you compare the Maxwell House to the Ralphs, I think they're about the same. But I'm sure there are different texts and different versions and slight variations.
I think for sure, but the order's always the same.
Yes.
That
Yes. The
never
order,
changes
that is
because
correct.
I think that's what
That
it
is correct.
really is.
The order is the same, and we actually begin the Seder by singing or saying the order, right? Just to emphasize this idea of the order. Yes,
Since
Lupe.
it was not canonized.
That's why the only festivity we want to have in the world to come is gonna be the Purim
Wait, say it again, I'm sorry?
in the world to come.
In the world to come.
Is the festivities won't be celebrated. I mean,
Okay, so there's a
only
teaching.
the Esther.
There's a teaching that the holiday that will be. It says in the Magilla that Megillat Esther that this will never cease from Mizaram, from our descendants. So there's a teaching that the holiday that will be celebrated in the time to come will be Purim. Right? Yeah, that is interesting, and I think normally we understand that Purim, when we're appreciating the miracles of God, then the miracles of God at the time of the redemption will eclipse all the other miracles that we've seen, be it by the Exodus, etc. But our appreciation for God during when he was in a hidden state, right? So that will not be eclipsed by this greater revelation of God, right? So therefore, that is a celebration and appreciation that will always stay with us. Okay, let's do one more. So excellent! Thank you, everybody, for all these really great ideas on the ashes. Right? So we're on the topic of cleaning. So we went to the ashes. What I like, this one other point, another point that I want to make. Look on page 572. Was that we good?
I'm sorry. I said I have a container every day, my plastic container, where I keep all my rice, noodles, all these things. You take it out, you put it somewhere else, you bring it back. Plus, you don't lose, it doesn't, how can I say that?
Oh, you want setting up the kitchen for
In my
Pesach?
no, not
Okay.
for the Pesach. Always. In the, what is the word for this you open?
Pantry.
Cabinet, not pantry. Pantry. I have a plastic container, a couple of them, where I keep all this rice, noodles, whatever, sugar, flour.
Nice.
And then it doesn't spill, it's
Contained. Good. Okay, 572. Just an interesting point to keep in mind. Right? By the sin offering. Right? Verse 17. Someone take it for us in English. Because I don't want to go too late. Someone take it for us in English.
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the elevation offering is slaughtered, shall the sin offering be slaughtered. Before Hashem, it is most holy."
Good. Right? So it's telling us that in the place where the Ola is the elevation offering is an Ola. An Ola was brought as a voluntary offering or as a communal offering, right? An Ola was not sin related. So the pasuk tells us, well, where is the chatat, the sin offering? Where is that slaughtered? In the same place as the Ola. Now go down to, on the same page, chapter 7, verse 1 and 2, right? This is the law
Of the goat offering, it is most holy. In the place where they shall slaughter the elevation offering, shall they slaughter the goat offering. And he shall throw its blood upon the altar and
all around. Okay, so once again, the chatat and the asham, which are two types of sin offerings, they are shechted where? At the place where the ola is shechted. Now, we know already where the ola is shechted.
Ola is what?
The ola is the elevation offering, right? A non-sin related offering. We know where that is slaughtered, and that was on the north side of the courtyard. So why doesn't it simply say it should be slaughtered on the north side? But safon, right? We could save some words, right? right? Not in the place that you slaughtered the ola, that's where you should slaughter the chatat. Say, the chatat should be slaughtered on the north, before Hashem. Save a lot of words. And then we do the same thing over here by the guilt offering, right? Right? In the place where they shall slaughter the elevation offering, they shall say, slaughter in the north. Period. Right? We want to save words. The Torah has no extra ink over here. Why does it keep saying, in the place that you shall slaughter the ola, the elevation offering, that's where you slaughter these sin offerings?
Because when you kill the sin, you elevate. It's two sides of the
Well,
coin.
yes and no, because we're not talking about we're talking about where the slaughtering takes place, right? We're not even talking about on the altar.
Offering and
Yeah.
offering.
So in the place, yeah, Linda.
Maybe to show that there's no difference, that the gift to God, it doesn't matter why you're giving it.
But there is a difference. One is a free will offering. The other one is I committed a very serious sin,
But
I'm bringing.
But in terms of bringing it to God, there's no difference. Once you,
Oh, that God equally accepts it.
yes.
Okay, nice idea.
And to the animal. Those animals picked for sin and those animals picked for not sin.
Okay.
The animal is the same animal, so the animal receives, the animal's holy either way.
Okay, they're both Kodesh Kadashim. Good, Amy.
I think no matter how you get there to that place, Hashem is ready for you.
Okay, different paths to get to the same place, but either way it ends up in the same place. Hashem is there accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Nice. Dove?
I'm guessing not to embarrass someone.
Okay. Right? Very nice also. Right?
I still
Right?
think-
We're emphasizing that the sin offerings will be brought to the place where the other offerings are brought. And that way, we're going out of our way to emphasize, right? Right? Granted, we could have said in the north. Good, in the north. Right? Right? But by emphasizing in the place where the other ones are brought, it's emphasizing that do it in a way that a person's doesn't have to, publicly proclaim, I did a serious sin, and therefore this is my sin offering, right? But a person can just bring his offering. He knows, the Kohen knows, right? Hashem knows, and he is feeling contrite about it. But we do whatever we can do to minimize the embarrassment. I always say, as a parent, it's equally important what we see as what we choose not to see. And sometimes it's important to choose not to see or to choose not to hear something, right? Right? You don't have to turn everything into a major ordeal, right? And certainly you want to try to minimize. I've had many situations, as the rabbi, where someone said something and they felt very embarrassed that they said it within my earshot. And thankfully I usually don't hear it, right? But, even if I did hear it, maybe I didn't hear it, and we have to do our best to as much as we can, to make sure that we do whatever we can to preserve someone else's dignity and not undermine them and not drive them down. Yes, though.
Like the king, he has to also bring animal, so it's not, he's just like everybody else on some level.
I'm not sure I see how a king fits in over here, though.
First in offering or whatever, he brings the same like everybody else. It's not like he's bringing some special, he has to bring the same, like a goat or whatever it is.
Okay.
He has to bring it. So again, it's like, oh, the king of Israel is going to bring just like you. It's no different.
Question.
Yes.
Like only 20% of the Jews left Egypt. 80% basically ceased to exist as Jews. They, whatever happens to them. Of course, a lot of non-Jewish slaves left Egypt and went. But is there any kind of mention of the mourning for those 80% that chose
Yeah,
not
that's
to?
all. That's all alluded to in when the pasuk says v'chamushim. So according to the Medrash, that was 1/5.
1/5?
Yeah,
So
and it's a mention by
1/5 left or 1/5?
1/5 left.
Yes,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
which
yeah.
is about.
There are different ways of understanding that. I know not Rav Hirsch, but Rabbi Schwab, goes through that, right? And there are different ways of understanding that.
Understanding what? What did they
Was it literally 1/5? Because it mentions 1/5, 1/50th, 1/500th, right? Right? Was that literal or not? But we don't have mention of the mourning and stuff that took place.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nothing. Those left that just. This is it. They,
Yeah.
They're not mentioned anywhere. This is
No,
it.
alluded to but not
Alluded
mentioned.
to.
Yeah. Which is what gives room for different understandings, literal, figurative. That's what opens up the possibility for different understandings. Next week, Tuesday morning, should we get together, or a little too close to Pesach, not be able to make it?
Shall we vote?
Huh?
Shall
Okay.
we vote?
I'm happy to learn.
Praise
Not if someone can't come, I understand, right? Right. I will be very lenient in the excuse notes that I'll give for next week. A lot more lenient than usual. Okay. But we'll learn. We'll learn. Those who can make it. Yeah, there will be class next week. Yeah, we'll learn. Yes.
Rabbi, in the second line at the end, it
Don't-
says Mokdah. Why is a little...
I have to take a look at
There's
the
a little
Baal
mem
HaTurim.
there, something little.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
a little mem and then the...
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
We'll have to figure it out.
One of the commentators known as the Baal HaTurim, he normally addresses that. I will take a look and see if he addresses that.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do we